Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Business Innovators Radio. This is your host, Jerica Glasper, and in today's show, we will discuss the singles guide to home ownership. We'll be demystifying the top 5 common myths and simplifying the home buying process. I am really excited to introduce today's special guest. Today we have Charlotte Shay Johnson, and she is a passionate realtor who combines her love for the industry with her passion for education and publicity. She first became a Texas licensed real estate agent in 2002 and worked in both real estate and the Dallas Independent School District as a specialist in employee relations and human resources. She re-entered the real estate business in 2017, and after serving in both the Dallas Independent School District and the Dallas Can Academy for over 18 years, she's drawing on her experience as an educator, publicist, and administrator to build her reputation, which is one that is very refreshingly friendly, compassionate with customer care, precise attention to detail, and sharp negotiating skills. She's an active agent with BSA Realty, serving the entire Dallas-Fort Worth area, specializing in singles, rental, relocating, and luxury homes. As an experienced agent, Shay understands that buying and selling is one of the biggest decisions in the client's life and views education, representation, and demystifying this process for her clients as a true privilege. Welcome to the show, Shay. So excited to have you on.
Oh, thank you so much. Hi, Jerica. It's so glad to be here, and thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yes, absolutely. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you're helping your clients?
All right. Well, as you mentioned, I am Charlotte Johnson. Shay is a nickname that my clients and family and friends call me. Originally from Ohio, but moved to Texas when I was 5.
Okay.
We lived in San Antonio and then moved to Dallas when I was 11. So I've been in Texas a while and in this DFW area. I became a parent in 1995, and I have one daughter. She's an only child, and I think that I've always been single, except for the 2.5 years that I was married. That didn't work out, but I had my home before I got married, and so my passion to help singles hails from that. I started out and am still single, but a homeowner, and the joy that comes with home ownership and the flexibility and the avenue of building wealth is what I really like to share and assist my clients in obtaining as well.
That is amazing. I love your passion for being an educator and advocate for singles, and super excited to hear. I know that we're going to be talking about the 5 common myths because there are some advantages to home ownership, and there are some pitfalls as well going through the process. So if you could take us through those common myths of home ownership, especially for singles, what are some of those common misconceptions and fears that you can demystify for our audience today?
Sure. There are so many myths out there about owning a home, and the process can be confusing and intimidating. So I've put together a list of 5 myths that are out there, especially, like you said, for those of us who are single, and as well as those who have always come from a renter type of background. The only experience they have is renting, whether it's generational or new. So one of the top myths that I run into with people who are single is that they have to have a perfect credit score in order to buy a home. And that myth is huge. Yes, you have to have credit because you're taking on a huge financial obligation. So lenders want to make sure that they get a return on the investment, because when they loan that money, they're investing in you. They're trusting that they're going to get that back. So the big myth is that they have to have perfect credit, when in actuality, the score of a 580 can get you a home mortgage with an FHA loan. And that would also reduce the amount of down payment. And we'll get to that because that's myth number 2. But having that perfect credit score is a myth, and there are several different ways that potential or those who want to purchase properties or rent properties can actually increase their score in a relatively short amount of time. And in my guide that I'm producing now, I get to some of those tips and how you can get your credit score so that you can get an FHA loan. Of course, it has to be higher if you want to get a conventional loan. And a conventional loan basically means that because of your higher credit score, your interest on that mortgage won't be as high. And you may not have to pay as much down. The higher your credit score is, the lower your interest rates are, so the less you pay for that loan over the course of time that you select. Myth number 2 is that you have to pay 20% down. So if I go back to number 1 with your credit score and FHA, and FHA is a government-secured loan, is a vast majority of home buyers, couples, and singles who get FHA loans because they only require 3% down payment, which is a lot more attainable for singles if you only have that one stream of income coming in. So if you get an FHA loan, 3% down is typically the average that you would have to pay, as opposed to 20%, let's say that's the average for a conventional loan. So if you have a credit score of 630, 690s into the 700s, you would have a conventional, and you may be able to get 20% or lower for a down payment, which is myth number 2. So myth number 1 is to have a perfect credit score. Myth number 2 is you have to have 20% down. I'd like to also mention that you can always look at first-time homebuyer programs. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and different programs are available to assist with down payment. So there's down payment assistance. Going through a realtor or through a mortgage company who has down payment assistance is another avenue for that. Myth number 3 that I run into is, oh my gosh, I really want to buy a house and I've always wanted to do that, but I don't have the money to pay for a realtor, and why do I have to pay for that when there's Realtor.com? And that is true. You have so many different sites nowadays for different agents and for purchasing a home or for looking for properties, et cetera, and you get excited. You get excited watching HGTV and, yes, I can do that. But having a realtor, first of all, you don't pay for a realtor. If you're a buyer, you're not paying your real estate agent. The seller of that property is responsible for paying the agent so that buyers can buy without cutting themselves or selling themselves short, thinking that they have to pay the commission of this person and the commission of that person. That's not what you're doing. As a buyer, your only responsibility is to pay for the property. So myth number 3 is that you have to have the money to pay for a realtor. Number 4 is buying a home ties you or ties the person to that property for 30 years. That is a myth. And the reason that it's a myth is because we know, yes, millennials, one of our top buyers are now millennials, and actually baby boomers, 72 and older, are purchasing homes. And with that particular myth, you have to understand that they like to move around. The average time that a person stays in a home in 2018 is about 5 to 6 years. With technology and with mobility and relocation, and a lot of people work from home, a lot of people travel, so that digging in the roots, especially if they're single without kids, that digging in and nesting and setting roots happens much later. So you don't have to be attached to that property for 30 years. You can buy that property, and then as a single and, millennial, you can Airbnb it. You can invest in that property and live in it part-time for a year or two and then rent it out. But when you purchase it, it does become your asset for you to be able to do what you want to do with that particular property. So you're not really tied down to that property. So if you get your mortgage for 30 years, no, you by no means have to stay in that property for 30 years. And then number 5, I've never owned, or nobody in my family has ever owned, and we don't know what to do. The process is intimidating. I just rather keep renting because that's all I know. That is a myth as well. Find you a real estate agent. Find you a home or property that you want to go to, even if, and now we have renting and leasing to own, even with homes. So if you wanted to rent a house or lease a home that you know you want to purchase, you have that option as well. So the myth that because you don't come from a buying background doesn't mean that you can't be the first and that you can't establish that asset for your family as a single person. One of my clients that I'm working with, she's a single mom of 3 boys, just turned 30.
Wow.
And, I've been working with her since about September. She wanted to, initially she was like, yes, I want to buy a house. Here's my info. And I met with her, as I do with all my clients. I like to sit down with them and, see what their aspirations really are, see what their thinking is about home buying. Because, they can talk to a whole bunch of people and everybody has their opinion. She reached out to me and I sat and we met at a Starbucks and, just kind of had a conversation. She brought the boys. Her credit score was in the 570s when we first got together. And so in working with her these last few months, her credit score is now at a 640.
Wow.
And she now has a better handle on where she wants to move, because sometimes buyers get excited. We all get excited, whether we're single or not. We get excited about buying a home. And if I were to say, Jerica, where do you want to buy your home? You're like, oh, in Dallas.
Uptown.
A lot of clients don't really know. They're like, Dallas. Okay, we're in Dallas. Dallas is so segmented. With different suburbs, but we narrowed that down. I took her through the process. She ended up renting because her personally, she wanted to go into a home with her boys with a 700 credit score. And so we're just about there. I did get her into a rental property. It's a rental home in North Arlington. And I talked to her about every 3 to 4 weeks or so, because our objective is to get her moved into a home by the end of the year so that she can be in a house by the holidays, which is our goal. There are just so many myths and the process, and even with that, and I can kind of go into what the process is in a simplified manner. Typically the process takes, right now, the way the Dallas market is, closings take anywhere from 30 to 35 days, sometimes faster, of course, if it's with a cash purchase. But the process, really simple, is one, do your homework. When I was 25, single mom, buying a home, I had no intention of buying a home that day. I just happened to be in the South Dallas area at the Martin Luther King Center and went to a home buying seminar. Just dropped in, really. And that sparked, what is this? I can own a house? What do you mean? Okay, but I'm by myself. So doing your homework, and sometimes in doing that homework or feeding that curiosity will spark. And once that curiosity has been sparked, then select you a good agent, hopefully me. But if not, get you a good agent, one that will spend the time. A real estate investment is heavy. Even if you're just renting, that's heavy, because that's where you're going to drive up to. That's where you're going to lay your head. That's where you're going to want to invite friends or family. And so whether you're renting or buying, you want to make sure that you have an agent that will walk you through that process and that knows what you want and that you build that relationship. You want to make sure that you have a good grasp on your credit picture. There is no shame in not having a good credit score now. Talk to somebody about how to get your credit to where you can open a line of credit or you can get a mortgage. So let's not be embarrassed about that. That actually helps to simplify the process. when there are no mysteries and no surprises along the way.
Right.
So, one, do your homework, select your agent, get a good grasp of your credit picture, and be honest with that agent. If you need to improve it, then take some time to do that and then map out what your end result is. Where do you want to be? Do you want to move into a home for the long haul, or do you want to move into a home temporarily so that you can turn it into a rental and investment property and go into property management? Or do you want to rent a home with the idea that I'm renting it right now because I don't want anybody else to get it and then I'm going to buy it?
That's a good idea.
Yeah, it's like, let me get this one right now. Let me move in. So, and then start looking at properties. Narrow your search. Like I said, Realtor.com, Trulia, Zillow, all of those are fine for looking at properties. But find an agent, again, who can get you into the property. The process is in the buying or renting, not in the looking. You don't get anywhere simply by looking at houses. One thing I know with real estate agents, we don't necessarily enjoy just driving around from house to house, from one end of the Metroplex to the other.
Right.
The process is in buying and not in looking.
That does bring me to a really important question is, when should someone contact you when they're in this home buying process? When they're still looking, a couple of months out from being ready, 6 months, a year, how does someone know that it's the right time to contact a realtor?
It's the right time to contact a realtor when the idea first pops into your head. When the notion pops in of, I want to buy a house, or this apartment is on my nerves, my neighbors are on my nerves, and they keep stomping, and I need to go somewhere else.
Right.
Or I've been staying here for too long, and I'm ready to go. When those notions pop in your head, that's when you contact a real estate agent. They can help facilitate the furthering of that process to a move.
Right, and so that you can avoid those pitfalls and the common mistakes. And if you have to plan out in advance, you have a realtor that tells you exactly what that game plan looks like. So I totally agree with that.
Absolutely, because I know another client that I was helping that moved in February. When we first started in November, she was all over the place. At the point that I came in, she had been through multiple disappointments. Mm-hmm. And the disappointments came from her going onto some of the sites that I named, mm-hmm. finding these properties and looking at the pictures and falling in love with them, and then you don't qualify for that much. Mm. And then there's a heartache. So it's really important to get a professional in that industry so that you don't build up to those disappointments, because they can give you the properties that match exactly what you've been pre-approved or pre-qualified for. They can get you those specific properties so that you don't have the heartbreak, but you have the celebration once you move into that particular property.
Right, absolutely. Can you share with us an example of how you've helped one of your clients overcome some of the obstacles that you named and some of the common pitfalls, and how they succeeded as a single buying their first home?
Yeah, the young lady that I was just talking about, either one of those two, and their initial challenge was their mindset around home buying, as well as the reality of their credit score. And what I did with client A is took her through, I have a program called Buying the Opulent Way, but I took her through that program of, hey, get your credit report pulled, pull your credit report. It doesn't hurt your credit the first time that you do it, because you need to see what's on there. And once you face what's on there, then we can come up with a game plan, and that's what we did. So I had her attack different things on her credit report, like duplicate names, incorrect name spelling, incorrect addresses, being attached to a family member just because you have the last name and they're showing up on your credit report. So I took her through that process, and in building and getting her credit to where it was above a 600, I was then able to, because she went through back and forth as well. Oh, I want to be in North Arlington, and then she wanted to be in Garland. Then her mom worked in North Dallas, and it's like, oh, okay, wait.
Right.
I don't think you realize that Dallas is 350 square miles. So let's narrow this down a little bit.
Right.
So just walking her through that process, she found the first few houses for rent in Grand Prairie. We looked at a couple of them. And then upon looking at what was in her budget, or what she thought was in her budget, she decided, nope, let's wait a little bit more till I get it up higher. So like I said, in the meantime, we found her a really good rental property where her boys go to school. And because she's in that rental, I now know that when she gets ready to purchase here in the next few months, I'm still attached to her. I'm still walking her through that process.
Right.
And so she'll text me and she's like, hey, Miss Shay, my score is now XYZ, and I'm almost there. Can you send me some properties, or can we do this? And so even with her, I take a lot of those questions, and, you know, I'm their cheerleader because I know that, like I said, she's got 3 boys. So I take her through that process. That's where I currently am with her. Like I mentioned with the other clients that I've had, some of them are in rental properties, and I just enjoy watching them close and helping them shop for a mortgage, getting a mortgage lender that's friendly with them, that has a relationship, because that can be intimidating and scary as well on the whole financial part of financing the home.
All right. Well, that is 2 beautiful stories. I'm so excited to hear what their success story is going to be like once they close and actually put the keys in their hand. And that brings me to another thing, is what inspired you to become a realtor? Because I see that you're very passionate about it. So how did you get into the real estate game?
I got into the real estate game the first time in February of 2002, and it was because I purchased my first home in 1997. And when I sold it, I got a realtor, and he was a male, and nothing wrong with, you know, with my guy at all. But this particular real estate agent had some preconceived notions about who I was and what I wanted because I was a single female, and made the process less enjoyable than it should have been. Once I closed on this house that I'm currently in, and I've been here 17 years, but once I closed, I decided at that moment that I needed to be an agent, because surely there had to be more single women, more single parents experiencing some of the same thing, because there weren't 2 incomes that perhaps I wasn't going to qualify for a home, or because it was just me on the deed to the house that I somehow couldn't afford what I wanted. And so because of that, I just figured, you know what, let me get my license. And in getting my license and being in education, I came to the conclusion that most single people don't know what they don't know. Right. And we all operate on our prior knowledge. We all operate on the experience that we have with our parents. So if our parents didn't own, typically owning is not something that's high priority. Or if they did, they just pushed us into it, and this is what you're supposed to do because this is what you're supposed to do.
Right.
As a single person, I wanted to be able to equip myself so that I could help others. And that's what I've done with everything. I got my real estate license not for me, but so that I can be someone that somebody else can depend on when they don't have it, or when they want to do something. All of my stuff I got so that I can be equipped to help the next person. And my heart just happens to be with those who are single.
Yeah, beautiful. That's what it's all about. So one of the important questions that I would like to know, because I'm going to be looking for a home, hopefully here in the next, 12 months or so, 6 to 12 months, is what's the most important thing that one should consider when they're evaluating a realtor to work with?
The one important thing is whether or not that person has a passion for helping you, as opposed to a realtor that's in it as far as just the turnover of clients. You want to make sure that you have somebody that will be with you through the long haul and who won't hold it against you if you're not going to buy, if you just want to rent. It's kind of like the same question when you ask a teacher, you're interviewing a teacher, do you like kids? And if the answer is, yeah, I like kids, then that might not be the one for you because you really got to love what you do. And you really have to want to see people win. And so I think that would be the most important thing. Find somebody who fits your personality that you know is there for you.
Right, absolutely. So if someone was interested in booking a consultation with you to learn a little bit more about your services, it sounds like you have a credit building program, you have a book that's going to be coming out soon and help singles as well. What are some of the ways that they can reach out to you to learn more and to get a hold of you?
Great question. They can reach me by phone. They can send me a text, 214-982-0187. I am a texter. That's my preferred mode of communication, but I will talk. And we can always schedule through there. Also have my website, which is www.opulent, that's OPULENT as in Tom, premierhomes.com. Or they can shoot me an email to opulentpremierhomes@gmail.com. I am open and available to demystify any of the myths, to further break down the process as a referral or a resource. I'm here, and they can schedule their consultation any one of those 3 ways.
Well, thank you so much. I've completely enjoyed our interview today. I love all of the information that was shared and the pitfalls that you told us how to avoid and some common misconceptions that really puts that confidence back into, hey, I can really do this. I can become a homeowner, and I know that I have someone that is really advocating for my success. So, again, thank you so much for joining us on Business Innovators Radio. And for those who are listening, Shay's contact information will be just below this interview. So if you didn't have a chance to write it down, again, it will be just below this interview. And thank you so much. And I really appreciate your time with us today.
Thank you so much, Jerica, for the opportunity. And I look forward to any in the future. Thank you so much. Again, I really hope that this has helped.
Yes, it has. Thank you so much. You have a great one.
Thanks. You too.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.